Before we begin, I invite you to leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and the exact time you're hearing this story. We are tracking how far these documented accounts travel and what hours of the night they reach each corner of the world, because some records were never meant to be heard after dark. In the winter of 1885, there was a town so small it barely deserved a place on any map. Its name was Blackwood Hollow, a narrow settlement of crooked wooden houses, muddy roads, and oil lamps that flickered weakly against the endless fog. Travelers rarely passed through it. Those who did rarely stayed longer than necessary, not because the people were unkind, but because the town felt wrong, not dangerous, not violent, just unsettling in a way no one could properly explain, as though the air itself was listening. And yet, within that uneasy place, the townspeople trusted one man completely, Dr. Elias Moreland. Dr. Moreland had arrived in Blackwood Hollow 10 years earlier. No one knew much about where he had come from. He claimed to have studied medicine in larger cities, under professors whose names few locals could pronounce. He carried himself with quiet confidence, dressed neatly, spoke politely, and never raised his voice. Most importantly, he saved lives. He delivered babies during harsh winter storms. He treated infections when others would have lost limbs. He stayed beside the dying when their families could not bear to watch. People didn't just respect him, they depended on him. To the children, he was the man with warm hands and gentle words. To the adults, he was stability in an unstable world. To the elderly, he was often the last face they saw. No one questioned him. No one doubted him. No one imagined he might be hiding anything. What the town did not know was that Dr. Moreland kept two records. One was public, clean handwriting, ordinary medical notes. Nothing strange. The other was hidden. Beneath the wooden floorboards of his clinic, under a loose plank only he knew how to lift, lay a thick leather journal wrapped in cloth. This journal contained no patient names, no dates, no official records, only observations, disturbing ones. The first page read, "There are structures within certain bodies that do not correspond with any known anatomy. I do not yet understand their origin." The ink had been pressed so hard into the paper it nearly tore through.
Easy
The
now.
case that changed
Try to
everything
remain calm.
began with a
I
farmer
am
named
only
Thomas
trying to
Greer.
help you.
Thomas was known as a quiet, hard-working man, mid-30s, strong, rarely sick. He owned a small plot of land at the edge of town and rarely bothered anyone. That was why his visit to the clinic surprised everyone. He arrived just after dusk, pale and trembling, hat clutched tightly in his hands. Dr. Moreland welcomed him inside. "What seems to trouble you, Mr. Greer?" the doctor asked calmly. Thomas hesitated. "It's difficult to explain, sir." "Try." The man swallowed hard. "It feels like I'm not alone anymore." The doctor studied him carefully, not as a superstition, not as madness, but as something else entirely. "Do you hear voices?" he asked. "No," Thomas said quickly. "Not voices, just a feeling, like something is aware inside me, watching, listening." Moreland noted the symptoms carefully. No fever, no visible illness, no sign of infection. And yet, Thomas's eyes carried something else. Fear, not of death, but of presence. Over the next few days, Thomas returned again and again. Each time, his condition worsened. He complained of exhaustion even after full nights of sleep, of vivid dreams that felt more like memories, of corridors he did not recognize, of tall shapes standing just beyond sight. "I wake up and I know someone stood beside my bed," Thomas whispered during one visit. Not in the room. Inside the room. Close enough to breathe. Dr. Moreland listened without judgment. He examined Thomas repeatedly, checked his pulse, his eyes, his breathing. Everything appeared normal, except for one thing. Every time the doctor placed his hand against Thomas's chest, he felt it. Not pain, not movement, but an unfamiliar pressure, as though something within the body was arranged differently than it should be. Subtly, precisely, intentionally. 3 nights later, Thomas Greer died quietly in his sleep. No struggle, no signs of distress, no outward cause. The town mourned him briefly, but death was not uncommon in places like Blackwood Hollow. Life was fragile. People accepted that. Dr. Moreland did not. Not this time. With the family's permission, he conducted a private examination. He told them it was for medical understanding, for knowledge, for the good of the town. They trusted him. They always had. Inside the quiet clinic, beneath dim lantern light, Moreland made a discovery that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Not blood, not horror, not anything grotesque, but something far more disturbing. There was an additional structure within Thomas's body, smooth, carefully formed, integrated as though it had always been there, except it had not. It did not match any organ he had ever studied, did not correspond with any anatomical diagram, did not belong. It wasn't diseased, it wasn't damaged, it wasn't growing wildly. It was functioning, as though it had a purpose, a role, a design. Dr. Moreland removed it carefully and examined it for hours. He never recorded its exact appearance in his journal. Only this sentence: it was not hostile, it was not chaotic, it was deliberate. Before he could even fully process the implications, another patient arrived. Then another. Then another. Different ages, different professions, different backgrounds, but all with the same complaints. A feeling of being watched when alone. Dreams that felt coordinated rather than random. Sudden emotional distance, subtle changes in behavior others couldn't quite explain, and always, without exception, the same phrase: "It feels like something is waking up inside me." Dr. Moreland began keeping his second journal far more diligently. He stopped sharing everything with the town, stopped speaking openly about certain cases, stopped sleeping properly, because a terrifying realization was forming. These cases were not isolated. They were connected, but not like a disease. There was no fever, no cough, no physical sign of infection. Yet, the number of patients grew. And worse, none of them had ever been near one another. They had no shared meals, no shared locations, no clear point of contact. It was as though whatever was happening was choosing people individually. Dr. Moreland wrote late into the night, "This is not illness. This is not evolution. This is intervention." The town began to notice the change in their beloved doctor. He became quieter, more distant. His clinic lights stayed on long after midnight. He began turning certain patients away. When asked why, he offered vague explanations. Exhaustion, overwork, personal matters. They accepted his answers. They always had. But for the first time since his arrival, Dr. Elias Moreland began to lie to the people who trusted him most, not to protect himself, but to protect them, because he had begun to suspect something far worse than disease, something far worse than death. He was beginning to believe the bodies of certain people in Blackwood Hollow were being altered for a future purpose, and whoever or whatever was responsible was still watching. It began with a child named Clara Hensley, the daughter of the town's blacksmith. Clara had always been quiet, polite, and painfully shy. But over the last few weeks, neighbors noticed something odd. She spent hours drawing in her sketchbook, endlessly. What concerned the adults was not the intensity, but the subject matter. The drawings were all of the same thing: strange humanoid shapes, faceless and elongated, with internal organs visible, yet arranged in ways that defied nature. The blacksmith confronted her one night. "Clara, where did you see this?" She looked up from the page, eyes pale, and whispered, "I dreamed them. They live inside people, and they are awake." The next morning, Clara fainted during breakfast. Her mother rushed her to Dr. Moreland. Dr. Moreland examined Clara carefully. Her vitals were normal. Her body showed no signs of illness. But as he placed his hand gently on her chest, the familiar pressure returned, the same that he had felt in Thomas Greer. He checked her chest with a stethoscope. Nothing abnormal, no extra heartbeats. Yet deep inside, he felt it, something not human. After hours of observation, Dr. Moreland wrote in his secret journal, "The phenomenon is no longer limited to adults. The influence is spreading. Perhaps it is accelerating." Word began to spread that something was wrong. People whispered about neighbors acting strangely. Mr. Dalton, the carpenter, stopped speaking to his wife. Mrs. Hawthorne, the baker, stared blankly at the wall for hours. Even the priest reported a sense of unease during sermons, as though invisible eyes were watching him from every pew. At night, some claimed to hear faint whispers in the empty streets. Others reported shapes in the fog, tall and silent, appearing and disappearing near homes of those affected. No one knew where they came from. No one dared investigate. But Dr. Moreland knew. Among the altered patients, one survived longer than the rest, a man named Ezekiel Moore, a middle-aged tailor. He came to the clinic complaining of a strange warmth in his chest. Unlike Thomas Greer, he did not die immediately. Dr. Moreland observed him for days. At night, Ezekiel whispered to the doctor, "I can feel it growing, moving. I am not the same." He could no longer eat normally. His dreams were filled with tunnels, faceless figures, and organs that seemed to pulse on their own. "It speaks," Ezekiel said, "not with words, but I understand it." Dr. Moreland began to see the pattern forming clearly. The entity entered the human body undetected. It did not kill the host immediately. It altered perception, behavior, and ultimately the essence of the person. And perhaps the most terrifying realization, it was self-aware. Late one night, Dr. Moreland hid in the clinic, refusing to sleep. He observed Clara and Ezekiel while the rest of the town slumbered. Through the dim candlelight, he noticed subtle movements beneath the skin of both patients, tiny, almost imperceptible. Not veins, not muscles, but structures that moved with intent, organs that should not exist. He wrote frantically in his journal, "They are growing, learning, adapting. Whatever this is, it is not human, and it is choosing hosts carefully." As he watched, Ezekiel's chest rose and fell unusually, a faint rhythm echoing from somewhere deep within. He realized that he was not a passive observer. Whatever this was, it had noticed him. Days turned into weeks. Dr. Moreland stopped leaving the clinic. He avoided town gatherings, stopped seeing unrelated patients, and slept little. He became obsessed with his journal, adding entries at all hours. "I can feel it here too, in me. Perhaps since the first removal, it has followed me." He feared touching the altered patients now, not because of infection, but because he sensed the same warmth in himself he had felt in them. He began examining his own chest in secret mirrors. Nothing visible, nothing physical. But the pressure persisted, the awareness. And when he closed his eyes, he saw them, faceless, elongated, pulsing shapes, always inside, always watching. One morning, Dr. Moreland ventured into the town archives, searching for old medical records, town reports, anything. He discovered an entry from decades earlier, a record of a mysterious doctor who had traveled through the region, performing unusual procedures and vanishing without a trace. The similarities were too precise to ignore. Small, isolated towns, patients with unusual symptoms, disappearances, journals sealed away, Dr. Moreland realized with growing horror. He was part of a repeating pattern, not the beginning, not the end, but one. In a long line of witnesses and victims, Dr. Moreland barely slept. Every night, he lay in his small clinic room, eyes wide, candle flickering, listening to the silence. It was not empty. Clara's sketches haunted him. Ezekiel's words echoed in his ears. And every time he closed his eyes, the pulsing inside the patient's chests appeared before him. Shadows moving beneath skin, organs shifting with intent. He began seeing them outside of the clinic, too. A shopkeeper who had disappeared weeks ago, standing in fog, faceless, chest rising and falling unnaturally. A stranger in the distance who vanished when he blinked. Shadows that moved against the walls of empty houses like something waiting to emerge. By midwinter, the altered patients began to change in ways that terrified even Dr. Moreland. Clara no longer spoke much. She would sit silently, tracing lines in the air as if feeling something invisible. Her sketches had become three-dimensional, little structures she built out of clay that mirrored the impossible organs she saw in her dreams. Ezekiel, once human in appearance, now had elongated limbs. His voice had taken on a strange resonance, as though he were speaking partly inside his own body. Other townspeople vanished. Some returned days later, pale, distant, eyes blank, and sometimes with a faint warmth beneath their skin that no one could explain. The town itself seemed to recoil. Animals fled. Fires went out spontaneously. Even the fog hung heavier than it should have. Dr. Moreland realized it was too late to stop what was happening. One night, as he studied Ezekiel's chest under candlelight, Dr. Moreland felt the same unnatural warmth in his own chest. A creeping pressure, subtle but undeniable. He could feel it moving, shifting, pulsing. A whisper in his mind, "You are next." He recoiled, trembling, and then realized he had always been next. Whatever this phenomenon was, it had chosen him the moment he first discovered the organs. He was not the observer. He was now part of the experiment. Driven by fear and obsession, Dr. Moreland began removing organs from patients, carefully, secretly, under dim lamplight. He placed each removed organ into jars, cataloging every detail in his hidden journal. "They do not belong to humans," he wrote. "Their structure is deliberate, functional, intelligent." But the more he experimented, the more he realized something terrifying. The organs were adapting. They reacted when handled, shifting in ways that suggested awareness. Sometimes they seemed to pulse faster when he studied them. Sometimes the warmth returned to his hands, even when he was not touching anything. And worse, each time he removed one, the host changed, subtly but irrevocably. It was no longer human. Blackwood Hollow grew quiet, unnaturally so. Neighbors avoided each other. Families whispered warnings behind closed doors. People who had not been altered began leaving the town, claiming the air feels wrong. But some could not leave. Some were already part of the transformation. The church became empty, the marketplace deserted. Even the wind seemed to move with caution, as though it feared what had taken root. Dr. Moreland began noticing faces in windows that were not there before, shadows that lingered too long, and always, the sensation of being watched from within his own body. One night, after hours of sleepless observation, Dr. Moreland made a journal entry that would haunt anyone who read it centuries later. They are not merely growing, they are learning. They can sense me. They respond to my touch. I fear they know me better than I know myself. Whatever they are changing me. Slowly. I can feel it in my mind, my chest, my blood. They are patient. They are eternal. And I am already theirs. He left the candle burning. He went to the window. And in the fog, he swore he saw a form rising from the ground, faceless, organs pulsing through translucent skin, moving toward the town center. Blackwood Hollow would never be the same. By now, the town was unrecognizable. The marketplace, once alive with chatter and the smell of fresh bread, was silent. Empty carts sat rotting in the snow. Windows glimmered with candlelight, though no one lived inside. Children no longer played outside. Even the animals had fled, leaving only the faint echo of hooves or paws in the fog. And in every house, in every chest, in every shadow, there was something waiting. Dr. Moreland walked through the streets with a coat wrapped tightly around him. He avoided eye contact. He whispered greetings he knew would go unanswered. He was the only one who could see what had happened, the only one who could recognize the creatures slowly forming within the townspeople. Clara Hensley, the quiet child with the drawings, had changed dramatically. She no longer spoke aloud. Her eyes, once gentle, were sharp and unblinking. Her sketches had become blueprints of human and non-human anatomy combined. A terrifying fusion. Dr. Moreland realized she was no longer just drawing. She was teaching them. Every night, he would watch her sit silently, her small hands moving over paper and clay. And every morning, he found subtle changes in the townspeople who were not supposed to be altered. The warmth beneath their skin, the faint pulse of something alien, the slight elongation of limbs or fingers. Clara had become a conduit. Ezekiel Moore, once a man of flesh and bone, now stood taller, unnaturally thin. His voice echoed oddly, as if coming from inside a hollow chamber. One night, he whispered to Moreland, "They are not waiting anymore. They are ready. They know you." Dr. Moreland froze. He had suspected this for weeks, but hearing it confirmed made his chest tighten. He realized the organs, these intelligent entities, were aware of him, had been studying him all along. And if they had observed him, they had learned from him. "What do they want?" he asked, barely audible. "To finish," Ezekiel replied. "To complete what was started. You are part of the pattern." Driven by desperation, Moreland began researching older records, exploring abandoned archives, and questioning travelers who had passed through the region. He uncovered references to a traveling doctor from decades earlier, known only as the Collector. The Collector had performed strange surgeries, leaving behind patients who never returned, towns that were quietly abandoned, and journals that disappeared with the doctor. And in one fragile yellowed page, Moreland found the horrifying truth. The organs were not of human origin. They were tools of transformation designed to slowly alter the human body and mind. The collector had not experimented for medicine. He had experimented for evolution, something deliberate, something alien. Moreland understood then that he was not a pioneer or a savior. He was the next subject. The realization drove Moreland further into isolation. He began sleeping in the clinic's hidden basement, surrounded by jars of organs removed from the first patients, Thomas, Ezekiel, and others. At night, he would hear faint movements, almost like breathing, coming from the jars. Sometimes, he swore the organs pulsed in rhythm with his own heartbeat. He stopped writing in his public ledger. He refused to see any townspeople not already altered. He barely ate. He barely spoke. And yet, he could not stop observing, because the more he watched, the more he noticed. The transformation was accelerating. By mid-January, the town was no longer fully human. Some residents walked silently with unnaturally long limbs. Others had pale, unblinking eyes, staring past anyone who dared approach. Even children were changing, their laughter replaced with hollow whispers that seemed to echo inside the listener's mind. Dr. Moreland realized with growing horror that it was no longer about survival. The town was becoming something entirely new, something designed, something intelligent. And he was running out of time. One night, he saw Clara standing by the window, silhouetted by the moon. Her tiny hands were raised, tracing the air. The faint warmth beneath her skin was unmistakable. And then she spoke, not with words, but with a voice inside Moreland's mind. You cannot stop it. You are part of it. You are the next step. Moreland stumbled backward. The pressure in his chest intensified. His own heartbeat seemed to sync with the pulsing of organs in the jars. He realized, finally, that whatever had invaded Blackwood Hollow was inside him too, and that he could not escape it. By February, it was clear. Blackwood Hollow was no longer just a town. Every street, every home, every building had become a part of the transformation. The smithy was empty, yet echoes of hammering remained. The schoolhouse walls were scrawled with Clara's drawings, now pulsing faintly as if alive. The marketplace was deserted, yet faint warmth radiated from the stalls, as if something unseen moved beneath the wooden planks. Dr. Moreland walked through the town in horror. Every step echoed against unnatural silence. He realized the truth. The entire town had become a laboratory. The organs weren't just inside humans anymore. They were inside the environment itself. And the town itself was evolving. Clara had stopped speaking entirely. She no longer interacted with the doctor directly. Instead, she sat in the abandoned schoolhouse, drawing, building clay models, and whispering into the air. Not words, but instructions. Ezekiel had grown taller, thinner, almost skeletal in appearance, and his eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Dr. Moreland realized with terror Clara and Ezekiel were conduits, channels through which the entities inside the organs were shaping the world. And every night, he could hear them, faint whispers echoing in his mind. Complete the design. Prepare the next stage. He is ready. Driven to desperation, Moreland returned to his secret journal. He pored over every entry, every note, every observation. And then he understood the horrifying reality. The organs were not foreign disease. They were a form of intelligence, deliberately altering human hosts to become something new. The first hosts were observed, patterns were studied. Transformations were guided by entities with unknown goals. Blackwood Hollow was a test site. Its residents were subjects. And he, the doctor who had discovered the organs, was a facilitator. He had unknowingly been part of the experiment from the beginning. Moreland tried to flee. He packed a small bag, intending to leave the town behind and warn the outside world. But the town did not allow it. The fog thickened unnaturally, blocking the roads. Shadows slithered along the walls. He felt the warmth, subtle, invasive, inside his chest, pulling him back. Every path he tried to take led him back to the town square. And in the center, Clara and Ezekiel stood silently, not human anymore, not entirely, and yet fully aware. "You cannot leave," Clara whispered. "You are part of the pattern. You always were." Dr. Moreland watched in horror as other townspeople, the ones who had not disappeared, began to convulse. Their bodies stretched and shifted, limbs elongated, eyes glowed faintly. Their chests pulsed with something alien. The organs had integrated completely. Blackwood Hollow was no longer a town. It was a living entity constructed from flesh, organs, and intelligence. And Moreland, he realized, was now the final variable. In a trembling hand, he wrote, "The organs are alive. They are intelligent. They are rewriting every host. They are shaping this place, the people, and now, me. I am no longer merely an observer. I am the final link. I can feel them inside my chest, my mind, my very being. If anyone finds this journal, know that this is not natural. This is deliberate. This is evolution, something beyond human comprehension." He sealed the journal beneath the floorboards, as he had with the first secret entries. By morning, the town was quiet again, but it was not peaceful. It was waiting. By now, Dr. Elias Moreland could no longer distinguish himself from the town. His reflection no longer resembled a man. The warmth inside his chest pulsed in rhythm with every other host. His mind was no longer solely his own. Whispers, instructions, and alien awareness flowed through him day and night. He tried to resist. He tried to flee. But his body refused. His legs carried him back to the clinic. His hands moved to observe, examine, record, compulsively, as if driven by something external. He was no longer the doctor. He was the patient and the observer, the final link in a chain of transformation that had begun decades before. Clara had become an entity beyond human comprehension. Her small frame now radiated a subtle, internal glow. Her hands traced lines in the air, shaping the town and its inhabitants without touching them. The faces in her drawings now mirrored reality. The elongated forms, the glowing chests, the unnatural precision of each organ. Ezekiel, towering and skeletal, walked silently through the fog, communicating with the townspeople in ways Moreland could barely understand. "They are awake," Ezekiel whispered, "and we are one with them." The town itself seemed to breathe, pulse, and move, a collective intelligence made from flesh, organs, and consciousness. Over the next hours, the remaining humans of Blackwood Hollow were drawn into the process. Bodies stretched, limbs elongated, faces became expressionless, eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. Organs pulsed visibly beneath the skin, synchronized with Clara and Ezekiel. Even Dr. Moreland felt the final change. His heartbeat no longer his own, his mind flooded with alien thought. He tried to scream, but no sound came. He reached for the journal, hoping to leave a warning, but the words dissolved in his vision before he could write them. The town had become a living organism, a network of minds connected by the alien organs. Moreland's last thought before fully succumbing, "I am still me, but I am not me anymore." In the silence that followed, the town seemed empty, yet the pulse remained, the warmth remained, and the whispers lingered, faint but persistent. We are watching. We are complete. We are waiting. The journal, hidden beneath the clinic floorboards, became the only trace of what had occurred. A record of discovery, a record of terror, a warning to anyone who might come after. By the spring of 1885, Blackwood Hollow no longer appeared on any map. Travelers passing near the region found only fog, twisted trees, and ruins of wooden foundations. Yet something remained, a faint warmth in the earth, subtle pulsing in the walls of abandoned houses, a whisper carried by the wind, low, rhythmic, intelligent. Those who approached too closely reported hearing footsteps behind them. Turning, they found nothing. Yet the sensation of being followed persisted, as if the town itself had taken them into its awareness. Blackwood Hollow was gone, but not dead. The journal surfaces. Decades later, in 1932, an antiquarian uncovered a hidden leather journal under the floorboards of a demolished clinic. The journal had been written in a careful hand, meticulously cataloging every observation. Patients who grew organs not belonging to humans. Dreams that blurred reality. Patterns of transformation. The final disappearance of the town, most of the pages were intact. Some were scorched, as if by heat or chemical reaction. The last entry read, "They are complete. They watch. They wait. And I am part of them." It ended with a final warning. If you find this journal, do not think you are safe. They are patient. They are intelligent. And they do not forgive curiosity. Stories circulated in nearby villages, travelers vanishing in foggy forests, strange hums beneath the earth, children drawing figures with impossible anatomy. Researchers dismissed the claims as superstition, but the faint pulse, the warmth, the whispering persisted. It seemed as though the work of Blackwood Hollow had spread, carried on by forces unknown. Dr. Elias Moreland, once a trusted physician, had become part of something eternal. Not alive, not dead, not fully human, but part of a network, watching, guiding, observing Clara and Ezekiel, conduits of intelligence, remained connected to the town's pulse. And the cycle was not over. Some claim that even today, if you travel through abandoned towns, ruins, or fog-laden forests, you can feel the pressure of something intelligent inside you. You can sense awareness where there should be none. You may catch a glimpse of the faceless, elongated forms from Clara's drawings. And if you do, you are now part of the story. The experiment is patient. The organisms are intelligent. The pattern continues. Blackwood Hollow was never just a town. It was never just history. It was a warning, a legacy, a horror that refuses to die. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. Some discoveries once made can never be undone. And some towns once lost will always find you.